We knew this was coming. Everybody that kind of pays attention to the actual numbers knew what was coming, but they instead access media types use these weird tactics of trying to present something as far more positive in light than what it actually is, especially if you look at it in context. We've covered Ant-Man, Quantumania, and trying to break this stuff down. And that, look, it missed its projections. It did not get especially in China, didn't get as much money, despite getting a Chinese release, didn't get as much money from that box office that they thought they were going to get. All signs point to this movie barely, if at all, breaking even. You don't spend $200 million to make $0 million. That's not how it works, okay? By all accounts, they're going to have to rein in their spending, and this is not doing good. They, of course, went and pointed out the fact that, well, this is the best movie in terms of its performance on the first week or weekend in franchise history. That doesn't say anything when you consider these two things. Number one, it also is the most expensive of all of the other two movies in the franchise. Also, ticket prices are different. They are up like almost $4 since the last release, the release of the last Ant-Man. So when you couple that, you actually do some math, you will see that it's actually less people going to see this movie than its predecessors. But because you see one number is higher than the other, you don't count for anything, inflation, nothing. Box office, the projections, none. You don't count for anything. Yeah, well, it's the greatest thing ever. But now even Access Media is having to concede because they know as this is tracking in the way that it is, it's just not simply doing well. A Marvel movie is losing gravity in its second weekend atop the box office with Ant-Man Quantumania, clocking the worst second frame drop ever for an MCU title at 70%. So it's looking to have a 70% drop off, 72% drop off, which puts it at the worst. So unlike other movies, which may have gotten at a decent start, but because of word of mouth, like Avatar, for example, word of mouth was what was able to carry it. People then go see it afterwards. The enthusiasm for this universe is just not there, period. And I know that the reason why so many people are protective of this is because they look at it like, well, it damns themselves and it proves their ideological enemies to be right. So they don't like guys like myself or other commentators that's been in this space talking about this stuff being correct on any of these issues. They don't like that. They get aggravated at that. So what they want to do is actually try to pretend that it's doing better than what it ever had. So you look at one number, they don't even understand how box office stuff works. I make this point every video because there's always somebody that's going to watch it that doesn't know anything. They look at it like, well, the number is high. They spent $200 million. They've made $200 million back. That's not how it works. Box offices, I'm going to explain this one last, I'm not going to be one last time because I'm going to have to do it again. Box office returns, the studios, the people that made the movie do not get 100% of the proceeds, right, of the box office. So even if it's a 60-40 or a 50-50 split domestic, or in the case of international, they're not going to get most of the box office for the international releases at all. Right? I think in China, it's like what? They only get like 25% or something of that nature. And then you have to account for the fact that, well, marketing and all that stuff that's spent on the movie is usually like around half, right? Sometimes you can account for just as much money that they spend. I mean, hell, even for this one had a what do you call it? Super Bowl ad. That's like probably $20 million that they spent on that. So this probably was more than what they usually spend for marketing in terms of the percentage of how much they spend on the production. Okay, this movie is set to barely make money, and it might indeed, not saying that it will, it might indeed lose it. But either way, even if it does barely break even, when you consider the way that it's tracking, this is not a success. Nobody spends that much money to barely break even. That's not what happens. Marvel has to do some soul searching. I know you don't like the fact that we were correct, but they have to do some soul searching if they want to try to turn this tide. The shields are not coming out in numbers. And the thing is that the shields were always unreliable anyway. The people that were actually, you had, what Marvel Cinematic Universe had was basically everybody of all ideological, political spectrums, all that stuff. They had everybody that they could rely on with like coming up and show up at the movie theater. Now, because you have a big block of people that just aren't interested, and really the only people that are are going to see it are going to be flaky normies and flaky shields who just want to go support something that maybe they think gets at their ideological enemies for reasons, right? It's a stupid thing, but people actually do that. They support stuff out of spite. Hell, you seen the other side do that. Nonetheless, this is not tracking well. That is not my it's not an opinion. That's just a factual statement. And now, as you start to see second week, third week numbers, you're gonna have to concede that we were right.